Hello. Hello and welcome again to an episode of No Foolish Squash Questions. My name is Paul Frank. I'm the squash director at Squash Tigers in New Jersey. My colleague to my left, to my right, beside me anyway, is Colin White, the coach of the boys varsity team at the Hackley School and also leads up the Hackley Squash Academy. How are you, mate?
All good here, mate. Just in the throes of our school squash and looking forward to getting back on court.
Sounds good. The question for today was a fairly popular one. And when I say popular, it's one of my favorite questions, even if no one else is that interested, which topic for the week is all about recommendations for what we would do the week before a major tournament. Now, obviously, we play maybe a dozen tournaments a year if you're an active player on the US junior circuit. So not all tournaments are created equal, but certainly the chat today is what would we recommend you do in that week before a major event? I'll let you kick off, Colin. What's your first thought in mind that week before a major event?
I guess the first thing that comes to mind, because it just came up yesterday, is communication.
Mm-hmm.
I work in the school squash world, and we're going through tryouts and different stuff, and our week is set, and we've got the players working hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then we learned that some of them have a tournament this weekend. Now, that might have been something that they should have communicated earlier in the week, or if I flip it the other way, that was something that we should have maybe asked earlier in the week. But so that's the big thing. It's just trying to open those channels of communication.
Mm-hmm.
The more information your coach has of what's going on in your world, then it's better. That leads to better programming for the rest of the week.
No,
which I guess leads us into which leads us into that loading. How much do you are going to do that week?
It's a little bit like exams. Now, I've had this conversation with 1,000 people through the years. If you haven't studied, a big last 3 days where you don't sleep and try and cram for the exam is probably not going to make any difference. And it's exactly the same in terms of your tournaments. One of the things you don't like to hear in kids or even in professional players is that whole notion of training super hard up until a big event just to get those extra repetitions in. And normally, if we think loading has two components, intensity and volume. So how many minutes and how hard? So that last week beforehand, big fan of going very, very hard. A lot of fast work, a lot of match play, a lot of serious things, but not that many minutes. So for goodness sakes, if one hasn't been doing 2-a-days, now's probably not the time to start. Is that about your world up north as well, mate?
I would definitely say that, and just coming with a little bit of personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember as a junior player, I love to play. I would have got on court with anybody, and the week before a tournament, I would have been bashing away on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday,
mm-hmm.
and sometimes arriving at a Friday for a tournament, and then I got a bit of a cold because I just did too much during that week. I just didn't taper, as we call it. I just didn't sort of ease off and still have some of those hard intensity days. Mm-hmm. I was that cardio junkie who just liked to run, work. But we got to be clever as well as prepared to work hard.
I think we've all been there, and also the aspect of nerves kicks in as well. So I guess whether you're an experienced player or just one of the kids, you get a little bit scared. When you get a little bit scared, it's always nice to do something, and sometimes it might not be the brightest thing to do. The other thing I'm very fond of in that final week is the whole notion of rehearsal. So same story if you were in a play, if you're doing a concert, if you're delivering a speech, or if you're playing in a squash tournament, trying to train to the sorts of tactics and game plans that you might use on that weekend. Again, have you got pet activities for your final week?
I guess it's just very similar. You don't want to introduce anything too new for them, and you just want them to rehearse what you hope they're going to implement when they get to their matches. Very much a plan A and a plan B.
Mm-hmm.
If I can have them having a clear plan A in their mind and a clear plan B, then they've got the tools that to go out there and do it. If they arrive with no clear plan A and no plan B, then have I done my job properly? Probably not.
Yeah, I get that as well. I mean, tournament's not a time to learn new things. So if I haven't taught you beforehand, and if it hasn't been really, strongly put across to you in the week before, I probably shouldn't be asking you to do it. Would be, my personal opinion. Having been out there an awful lot ourselves, it's hard enough as it is without trying to work out new things at the same time. One of the other big concerns week of a tournament, housekeeping. So by housekeeping, I mean logistics. What do we know about the building? What do we know about car parking? What do we know about that a part of your preparation?
Absolutely. Again, as much information as you have about where you're going, how you get there, when you're leaving. There's nothing worse than this big event. You leave for the event and you arrive with not a lot of time to spare. You don't know where the changing rooms are, where the check-in is office, where you're going to be able to warm up, where you get a drink. So the more time that you have to take care of those, tick those boxes, the more bandwidth you're going to have to be able to do what you're there to do, and that is to play a great game of squash.
Yeah, now, I'm a big fan of not only that, but making sure that the players have done a little checklist themselves. So assuming that there might be a dozen things. One of them might be their math homework. One of them might be packing their bags. If you have a bag that you pack yourself, which I would always advocate players should pack your own bag. Do not ask mum to do this, folks. It's always good if you pack your own bag.
And kids, I'm sounding like an old granddad here. Kids out there, in my world, if I see your parents carrying your squash bag, ooh. Boys and girls, if you're able to play squash, you're able to pack and carry your own squash bag. Please.
Somewhere there's a metaphor for life, but we shall go into that.
Yes.
in a future episode of the podcast.
Yeah.
And further to that week of, especially the number ones and the top class players I've ever coached have always loved that last week of preparation, because at least if I'm your coach, that last week of preparation, you are perfect. Self-image being a big thing. So if I don't think you're quite fit enough, or maybe that short game's not looking quite right, or something else, I won't lie to you, but I will be making 10 times more emphasis of those things you're wonderful at than those things that maybe need a little bit of work afterwards. Where are you on that, buddy?
Yeah, definitely the mindset of coming into tournaments and big matches. You really want them to be fresh, not just physically, but mentally. Big thing is trying to make sure that, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Go back to it, yeah. I didn't want to be using your words. I didn't want to sort of, because how you put it, yeah, anyway, okay.
Okay.
Right.
And where are you on that, buddy?
Yeah, obviously the mental side of the game is huge, and the mindset, trying to make sure they have that very positive mindset, and generally feeling happy about themselves and about what they're going to do. They have to believe what they're going to do, and they have to believe that they can do it. I just had a conversation with some of my players yesterday, and just about, no matter who you got on court with, you got to believe that this person might be better than you, but that doesn't mean that they get to walk all over you. You got to make it as difficult as possible, and you might not be good enough to win that match, but you're definitely good enough to be a annoyance and keep them on court as long as possible, and make that person to work. So you got to believe that. You got to, my professional days was ranked way above me. I respected them because they deserve respect, but that didn't mean I was going to lie down for them. I was going to leave it out there on the court. So yeah, you got to believe that and the mindset.
Yeah, that even gets into a broader thought of, the sort of life lessons we get out of squash. So one of the things we'd like for the players that we coach is that whole notion of being committed to a process and being prepared to be brave and effortful. And sometimes it works out, and I guess sometimes it doesn't. But you still want young men and young women who are feeling empowered enough to go and express themselves and stand up for themselves and have a go. And that's, I think, one of the great parts we get about the sport. But anyway, that last week before a tournament, final thing is normally pat him on the head and wish him good luck, because sometimes you can do everything right and things go badly. Sometimes you can do everything wrong and things go well. So I think that final part that experience teaches us is that you take care of all the controllables, you cross your fingers, and then you're just proud of the athlete, regardless of whether or not they're successful or not in terms of winning and losing. But you're proud if they just stick by their guns and do their best at the time.
So to send me.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, you were freezing a little bit. I was talking. Yeah. I was just going to say, and a wise man just said to me recently about if you have the ability to avoid major things in your life during that week, that may be a good time to not to have those big conversations with boyfriends, girlfriends, parents, and just get the mind on the page of the mindset of the event ahead. And that takes us into a nice conversation sometime about visualization, which is something for another day.
It's certainly visualization is something for another day, but I take on board what you're saying though. What's nice is if avoidance is a great thing that week off. So avoidance doesn't help you if you're trying to pay your electricity bill or if you're trying to pass college, but avoidance is a great thing for those last 2 days before a major event. If you can just have a quiet life, then all is well. Anyway, talking about all is well, thank you very much for your time today, buddy. If anyone's looking to
always a pleasure.
You're welcome. If anyone is looking to get in touch with Colin, he's obviously up at the Hackley School. So have a quick Google, you're there. And similarly with me in New Jersey at Squash Tigers, happy to have a chat about squash anytime with almost anybody. Anyway, thanks again and talk to you soon, buddy. Bye-bye.
All the best. Cheers.